6:04 p.m. Call to order. AGUA Special Utility District. What's up meeting? April 3rd, 2023. Call to order. Dr. Adriana Villarreal. Here. Jose Luis Ochoa. Absent. Ricardo Perez.
Here.
Romero Tijerina.
Here.
Ana Maria Perez.
Here.
Narciso Solis.
Here.
Okay, invocation.
Heavenly Father, as we gather today to conduct matters of business for AGUA SUD, may you give us your guidance, wisdom, and knowledge to make the best decisions for the ratepayers and employees. Lord, let this meeting be productive and let your peace surround us today. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1D, public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Madam President, we do not have any public comments at this time.
Item number 2, approval of minutes for February 6, 2023, AGUA SUD board meeting.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Tijerina and a second by Mr. Perez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, discussion and possible action on the non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Mr. Juan Jose Garcia for the cost related to water service for Diamond Subdivision.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Perez and a second by Mr. Solis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 4, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Nordhausen Utility Construction LLC for the cost related to water service for Western Meadows subdivision.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Solis and a second by Mr. Perez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Mr. Leonel and Norma Olivares for the cost related to water service for Rancho Los Sueños subdivision.
Did we skip number 5?
We'll skip number 5. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Item number 5.
I'm sorry. Discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Chacon Christian and 1960 Investment Company LLC for the cost related to water service for Brushline Meadows subdivision.
So move.
Second.
I have,
Do we have any discussions before we do? And I know that
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, we're gonna go through the motion. I mean, or do we?
I didn't have any questions on those two because I went through, but I didn't know if anybody else.
No.
Good. We're good.
All the subdivisions were
have already been discussed, correct?
Yeah. The other question is for the record. Did it pass the water model?
So, just to kind of mention that, there's 12 subdivisions, they all went through the modeling process, only one requires off-site improvements, and the developer did provide an email saying that they accepted the requirements, and that is item number 12, Monroe's 2 subdivision. So, as far as I'm concerned, all 12 were okay.
But going back to number 12, we're gonna have an agreement. No agreement, as is.
Part of the subdivision. They haven't requested any agreements.
No, if anything, they might require or request a reimbursement, but it's like 900 feet of off-site improvements of water.
I'm just saying that if we approve and then they don't go forward with it.
That's my only question is that it,
That's why I just want it on record. I don't want it to come back. Well, to me, I don't know how the board feels. But
Yeah.
If they don't
Yeah.
accept doing what's required on the 30-year letter, which is the off-site, then they couldn't move forward with it. So.
Okay.
and I read it in the contract here or the agreement that if they don't even follow the time that they said that they're gonna construct, they forfeit the
What's
agreement,
the time
right?
limit? Do we have a time limit?
Each one of them has,
6 months.
6 months on an SSA.
Okay.
On all of them? 6 months on all of them?
They're all-
Are they aware of that? They're aware when they sign?
It should be in the agreement, in the contract agreement that they'll be received.
Yeah, my only question is who is keeping tally of making sure that these, for example, if we're approving these subdivisions, they do not follow through and it's 6 months after, is there anybody following up with them, like, what's the status, is it completed?
Yes, here in administration, we'll send them a letter on the status, if they're gonna proceed or not. But first, of course, we'll have a pre-construction, you're saying during construction? Yes, we'll follow through that, during construction, we'll do the inspections as well.
Yeah, because there were some that, again, had a completion date of March or April because they had been submitted a while back. Do they have to
Right.
edit those
On-
dates, like when they're going to finish or complete the project subdivision?
Yeah, so, on those dates, they had those dates because they had submitted a while back,
Correct,
but what we'll have is we'll have a pre-construction and we can request new dates and let them know during the pre-construction, you know, kind of reiterate what's on the agreement.
Well, Emilio, any of these subdivisions are within the sewer, or is the
Yes.
sewer included here in some of them or not?
Yes, like the Diamond one is, the
Diamond
Peñitas.
Phase 1 and 2 are located in Peñitas, so those are
Okay.
Peñitas sewer. But I believe there's one,
Few,
but it's
yeah.
a one lot subdivision, and it's a commercial one. That's within, I guess, the City of Palmview city limits.
How about,
Rancho,
Los Sueños?
is further than where the sewer is.
but once we're done with, phase 2 of the yard line project, they're gonna be within 500 feet?
They're gonna have to connect. Yes.
They're gonna have to connect,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, cause they're within 500 feet.
For example, like Ramirez subdivision, they had submitted a long time ago, probably more than a year ago.
Item 14.
And they had already, extended the sewer across, and then it took longer than what it was supposed to, and what was agreed on the agreement, so they were required to resubmit, and so that's why that one's on there, and it's a 3 lot subdivision, and it is being connected to the sewer.
Do we enforce that, the sewer?
Yes.
Do we enforce it?
Yes, well, we always put on, if there's sewer within 500 feet, we require on the service investigation report that they connect to the sewer and have them update the plans and provide the plans to connect to the sewer. And there was one a while back that was not within the 500 feet, but was going to be with the additional areas, so we were trying to work with them on getting them connected eventually.
And it's up to them, right? It might be 1,000 feet, it's better for them because they can do more lots.
Yes, exactly. But, it just depends on what the developer wants, but from my understanding, the policy is if it's within 500 feet, sometimes they may require for them to extend it.
Yes, sir, at their expense. Okay.
So like, for example, the 21 lots on Western Meadows, that one has a design February 2023, construction March 2023, and we're just barely approving it right now. So they haven't started construction, or they have,
No, because.
right? 'Cause-
We can approve,
Yeah.
We didn't have any.
So-
board, and then we'll schedule a pre-construction, then we'll issue that,
So they're just waiting for this approval
Yes,
Right.
yes.
to move forward.
or we can schedule a pre-construction.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on number 5.
So there's a motion?
And a
Who was it
second.
again? It was Ms. Perez and Mr. Solis. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Mr. Leonel and Norma Olivares for the cost related of water service for Rancho Los Sueños subdivision.
So move.
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Solis and a second by Mr.
Just
Perez.
discussion, going back to sewer, is it gonna be documented that they have to connect to sewer?
Rancho Los Sueños is further than the 500 feet. This
But
one is-
if we do phase 2, it's gonna be connected because you're gonna go to a Barquito, and it's right there.
It's going to El Barquito, but, This one in particular, is a little bit further north on the west side.
Mhm.
It was submitted with, septic tanks, and they're doing half-acre lots. Right now, it's more than 500 feet from where the sewer is
Yeah, right.
presently.
Mhm.
So if they want to connect afterwards, but right now, it's being approved with septic tank because it's more than 500 feet away. And I believe it's, three lots of it. And it's, 10 acres. So they're big lots.
And then if they do want to connect to sewer, they incur that expense and then fees from the district come back,
Yes.
right?
Yes, but right now, the sewer's, further than 500 feet.
They're within the city of Palmview,
Yes,
so they need to go to the city and get it approved. Yes, for the subdivision.
For the plat?
oh, yes.
They had
has
already
go
do
through
it,
their
yeah.
process also.
Before
Okay. It's up to them for they require sewer or not, right? Can they do that or not?
No, that's, I was, but like I said, the policy states 500 feet, and they're proposing a 3-lot subdivision.
Where's the sewer line right there, amigo?
The sewer line is on Abram and Business 83.
So they need to plug the canal north?
No, but that's gonna be part of the phase 2 of the yard line project.
Mm.
It's gonna go out to the Barquito Road. So that's why I'm saying that they're gonna be within 500 feet to connect.
Mhm.
So let's say that happens in a year, 2 years, it's AGUA at that time gonna say, you have to connect now. Because on their other subdivision across on the east side of Abram Road,
Mhm.
they're gonna do septic tanks, but with the understanding that they have to hook up to the sewer once it's ready, and that's how it was approved
Yes,
the other time, correct?
yes.
So that's why I just wanna be on the same page here.
But it's, they're still, 500
Yeah.
feet, like you said. So
Can we require that, like, when we're saying?
once phase 2 comes in,
Once, I guess once the line is there, within the 500 feet, that's something that I can.
yeah, we can enforce.
But who's gonna be required to put it, them or the developer?
Then,
We're gonna have to put a service.
That's kind of hard to say because in 2 years, those 3 lots might already be sold to different people, so.
Would it be something that maybe the lot owner could put into their contract, like, well,
Like a
if,
retainage?
yeah,
A contingent to
yeah.
something.
Yeah, something
back.
for the owner to, right?
Yes.
Something, an agreement between the owner and the the person purchasing the property.
that once sewer becomes available, that they connect.
With some more connections, it's
What-
better for AGUA.
But isn't that like, I mean, a rule already that they have to connect?
If it's within 500
Yeah.
feet, but right now it's not.
Right.
Hopefully it will be, because we're in the works on getting the additional work with NAPAC.
Yeah.
And so once that work is in place, then it will be within the 500 feet.
Do
Yeah,
they
so
know
it-
the elevations already? So maybe he can put
It's
them
gonna
on.
happen anyway, regardless.
The way the property goes, or even Abram, it goes uphill, so the overall plan eventually is to have that line extended all the way to the expressway to connect even the subdivision that's right.
But it will
at the
flow
intersection
down,
with
it
Expressway.
will flow down then?
Yes,
It'd be good for him to put it there, but, it's an extra cost.
yeah, that could be something that we'll have to, or that we can update on the SIR. If it's approved by the board saying that to include that, we can update the SIR,
Mhm.
or we can bring it back, I'll leave up to.
Okay.
So every how often are we gonna get status reports on these?
Before we haven't been providing status reports on the subdivisions. Once it goes through this, we follow up with the pre-construction. And then once the pre-construction starts, our SUD inspectors and our SUD staff pretty much take over from there. And then we review like the closeout, because they're required to pay certain percentages of construction. And they provide estimates from the engineers to close it out. And so we do those reviews, but, like a status of construction, we don't.
So this is
like
it?
Yes.
And I would kind of agree with Dr. Villarreal, that we have something, especially during this time, because if they are not following through with development, we have contractors that are on hold right now. And if their time expires, we need to give the other the other contractors opportunities.
So it's kind of, everybody's kind of fighting to get that last meter, right? So.
And that's why it's,
So,
They're not gonna
which
be,
is the truth, right? So-
they're not gonna be waiting. I bet they're gonna
So
start like.
we do have an overall list of all the subdivisions that have been submitted. What I can do is include that list on our monthly report and kind of keep track of who has followed up with the pre-construction
That would be good.
and followed with who
Or
has
maybe-
actually started construction, and I think that'll be helpful.
or how many meters are available for, you know, what capacity are we at? You know, this month, we're at this capacity.
Just before we get to the 6 months goal that we were talking about,
Yes,
like that deadline, can we know ahead of time?
yes. What I'll do is I'll set up something, I'll include it on the report, on all the subdivisions.
Another recommendation that I'd like entered is that I know that I got a call from the city manager of Palmview that they went to the city to get a subdivision approved. And they found out from the developer that we had a moratorium on new development or accepting new applications. So if we can make sure that we're reaching out to every city manager or city entity to make sure that they know. Because I would hate for them to hear it from a developer and not from us.
I did spoke with the city manager, though. and
From,
let him know.
on the one right there in
No,
business center?
Well, not the business center, but Mr. Michael Leo, I did talk to him and let him know that.
When did you do?
I don't recall.
Yeah, so he called and said that, he says, what do you mean that there's like no more development, because the developer came and said they're not accepting any more applications. They went to him last week.
I got a phone call too, Mr. Salinas from Sullivan City. He had already spoken to you, Mr. Leo Garcia,
Okay, yes.
that he's
I talked to him about
getting started with
development. Yes,
I hadn't had a chance to call you, sorry, about him.
yes.
But he did call me also, he was very concerned. He had had a conversation with you previously, and he just found out that, that no more, contracts were being handed out, that he could not continue building, and that he had started on it like some time back, and that you already knew about it, and so he wanted me to have a word with you, but I've been real busy and I haven't had a chance to call you. I don't know what conversations you might have had with him.
Yes, well, I did let him know in reference to the capacity.
So he's not gonna be able to,
That we had, we met with him and we told him you need to submit as soon as possible. So that was a few months back, and now he's calling, so we need to put a pause to it, to see what other options we have to explore. So now the other option that we have is with the city of Mission and city of McAllen that we're working on. And one of the items that we have is in reference to that interconnect as well, so that we can open more capacity to it. Doesn't mean that we're gonna stop, it means that we need a pause on what we're doing right now in subdivisions, and then we're gonna continue, we're trying to find a solution.
you ever tell him that?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, I mean,
And
I
I think best practice,
I already talked to several developers on that.
Okay.
and I think best practice would
And
be
Leo's
just,
not the only one waiting. There's other developers
Yeah.
that
There's
also
others.
started and they stopped. I've gotten those phone calls. I'm
And-
still getting
Already
them.
you're getting.
And this is because we don't have that plant that we need
Because he
to
knows me, he
continue.
called me, and I'm like, hold on.
Because we had
Right.
presented, before the board,
but if they
how
open
many
up Mendiola.
subdivisions we had pending, right?
Right.
We had 15, I don't know how many subdivisions
1,000 lots.
we had pending, so that makes up to the 98% capacity, what we have. And I guess the direction, that was given, it was, like, okay, so we're gonna wait on those subdivisions. If some of those subdivisions are not gonna follow through, then we're gonna open more connections. But in the meantime, commercial development is open
It's
for
open.
them to submit. So
Right.
we're accepting commercial development for right now.
But this is really nothing new.
This is the all past applications.
I mean, that we can't approve any more subdivisions because we don't have the capacity,
Right.
because we don't have the funds for that new plant, so.
It's any new applications coming in.
Yeah, all of these are on the agenda today. We're
Right,
part of
right,
what
yeah,
was already-
they were already there, yeah. So I mean, pretty much we're gonna be parked after this
Yeah.
for a while.
Yes, and then we have other, the other three subdivisions that we talked about, the reference to Peñitas, Salida and Sol.
Right.
There's three subdivisions that make up maybe like 300 lots, more than 300 lots, on that, but they're taking a huge, capacity from the system as well, if they get approved. But those subdivisions, they did submit before we put a stop to accepting more subdivisions.
And what's a normal, well, it depends on the bigger subdivision, the more time. What's a normal for a 60 lot subdivision?
Construction
The time, a year or 18 months or?
The construction time really just depends on the contractor, right?
But when they started, they okay, right? When they started construction?
Yes.
The 6 month period.
It could take, you could have somebody that's fast paced and finish it in 5 months. But from what I've seen, like say a 60 lot subdivision, you're probably looking at more like 8 to 10 months. But to do the actual water improvements, that doesn't take that long, but usually from what I've seen in our experience, they usually start with the deeper gravity lines like sewer drainage, and then they do the water.
Okay.
So my recommendation and best practice is to meet with all those cities and let them know, I think I'd rather them hear it from us, and that way they can better represent us and the community to those developers. In that sense, because we're not stopping the development. It's just a temporary stay. Like for example, the Mendiola plant, and we'll probably talk about it in a little bit. Once the Mendiola plant comes into play, will we be able to add more capacity?
It's already up and running.
The Mendiola, that one's
It's already.
I think what's needed is the interconnect.
Okay, the one that you.
Yes.
To be able to, I guess, get water from Mission to pressurize the areas on the south.
So just the Mendiola plant needs the improvements, is what?
No,
Or
Mendiola is already in service. That one's been working for over a year.
okay.
I think what.
The other one that we have pending.
The
reservoir.
oh, I think you're talking about what at the end of the day, what's really needed for capacity is
Is a new
the
plant.
future plant.
Yes. Okay. I thought that was going to provide more capacity.
Those will help with the pressure, and then the reservoir is just to have the raw water at Chelsea.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that things were not completed yet. They are complete.
No, for capacity, it's item number 16.
Yeah, those interlocal.
Okay, any further questions or any further discussions? Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Solis and a second by Mrs. Perez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Mr. Carlos Leal Jr. for the cost related to water service for Las Comadres number 10 subdivision.
So move.
Have a motion by Mr. Tijerina, second by Dr. Villarreal. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Olmedo Investments LLC for the cost related to water service for Olmedo subdivision.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Tijerina and a second by Mr. Solis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any discussions? Okay, let's move forward. Item number 9, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for the water to be submitted to Jim A's LLC for the cost related to water service for S&J subdivision.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Perez, a second by Mr. Tijerina. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for the water to be submitted to Mr. Juan Jose Garcia for the cost related to water service for Diamond Phase Number 2 subdivision.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Tijerina and a second by Mr. Solis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water and wastewater to be submitted to LAC Enterprises LLC for the cost related to water service and wastewater for the crossing at the Bensten Palm subdivision.
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Perez and a second by Mr. Tijerino. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to the, how do I pronounce this? Materme LLC for the cost related to water service for Malos, Phase 2 subdivision.
So move.
Have a motion by Mr. Solis,
Second.
second by Mrs. Perez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water to be submitted to Mrs. Francisca P. Science for the cost related to water service for the resub Lot 38 Los Cenizos subdivision.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Tijerina and a second by Mr. Solis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14, discussion and possible action on a non-standard service agreement for water and wastewater to be submitted to Mr. Roel Ramirez for the cost related to water and wastewater service for R. Ramirez subdivision.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Tijerina and a second by Mr. Solis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, discussion and possible action on award of liquid aluminum sulfate blend and liquid ammonium sulfate for AGUA water treatment chemicals to the lowest, most responsible bidder as recommended by the general manager. Mr. Salinas?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, we solicited for a bid for these two chemicals for liquid aluminum sulfate blend. We received 3 bids. One was a no bid response, and we're seeking authorization to award that bid to Chemtrade, which is the lowest responsible bidder at 0.166 cents per pound. And for the next chemical, liquid ammonium sulfate, we received 2 bid responses. One was Univore Solutions and the other one Chemtrade. We're seeking authorization to award to the lowest responsible bidder, Chemtrade at 0.191 cents per pound for those 2 chemicals.
So move.
Second.
Have,
I just had a question. So there was only the one bidder that, and I know that they said, what was one of the reasons they said it was too far or for them to deliver the material?
For which chemical?
The first one, the
liquid
blend.
aluminum.
Uh-huh.
The liquid aluminum sulfate, we had Univar submitted a no bid. They submitted a bid for the liquid ammonium sulfate.
Mhm.
And what happened on the first chemical, there were 2 different reps for Chemtrade.
yeah, that's
So
what
they
it is.
submitted, you can see they submitted a bid for 0.191 cents per pound, and another rep submitted a bid for 0.166 cents per pound. So we're basically going with the same company,
Right.
but with the lowest bid.
Okay.
So, yes, it was, this is the first time we received bids from the same, 2 different bids from the same company, 2 different reps.
Yeah.
okay.
So
That's my
basically on
question.
that, we're going with the lowest responsible
Bidder.
bid on that. And if you can see on the last 2 columns, before we had Chemtrade, but it was at 0.01525 cents per pound. So it went up about
Slightly.
a cent, more or less, a little bit more than a cent on the cost. Which on bulk amount, it goes,
And
it's
this-
close
the-
to $30,000.
The
difference.
proposal form, and that's a form that we send to them to fill out?
The propo-
Like
yes.
this copy of this
Yes,
paper,
they-
we
they
send it to
have-
them and they fill it out?
Yes, they have
Okay.
that information. And
Yeah, it's out in the
Pre-approved by the
progress.
board to solicit for bids and advertise.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. So we have a motion by Mr. Tijerina, and we have a second by Mrs. Perez, correct? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16, discussion and possible action on approval of quotes for the reestablishment of Mission Interconnect Waterline Distribution Improvement Project.
Yes,
Mr. Salinas?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, on this agenda item, basically, we're looking at the mission, reestablishing the Mission Interconnect, again. So we went out for, well, we received quotes, for that, particular project, and of course, the quotes were above the $25,000 threshold, so that's why I'm bringing this to the board to show the 3 different quotes, and we're basically going with the lowest responsible bidder being SR Construction for a total amount of $30,760 to complete the work, which encompasses approximately 380 linear feet of 8-inch water line and 65 linear feet of 16-inch board. Steel casing and everything else are just force fittings that they need to go into the actual construction.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, but I have questions.
And this one, we can use the impact fee
The impact fee for this, yes, is part of
if needed.
improvements, yes.
Second,
It was not, hold on, it was not a 12-inch?
Yeah,
No, it's an 8-inch connection.
The connection we had there before, it was it there and it was, well, what happened to it?
It was an 8-inch. What happened is that the mission at that time was working on the Mile 2 winding project, and you can actually see it here where on the top right hand side of the page, you can see the actual construction of the project. And what happened on that, they were working on the intersection, and it was disconnected. The contractor that was working on the project disconnected the line, and it never, AWASA never went back and reconnected that section of line because the interconnect at that time was not being in use.
Did they pay us for it? Did we get paid for that line?
No.
Was it an easement?
No, it wasn't on right away.
It's not on railroad right now?
No.
No,
I-
it just goes across, the section that's being proposed is mainly the crossing on Morpeth.
So I have questions on the proposals because we have 3 here from SR. It's very generic. And then it says, labor only. So,
Yes, basically the material on all of them, AWASA is gonna provide the materials,
okay,
on that.
so this is all just labor.
This is all just labor, yes.
Okay.
I did not mention that, but yes, this is all labor.
Okay, so there's like and then on the second one, you've got water service option A and then B. So,
We're basically going with the same option as SR, which is 34,000,
okay,
which is the second option.
and that's kind of like a big, well, $4,000 difference.
Yes.
That's for the 8-inch line that runs north-south on Morpeth.
On Moorfield, that's,
And it's to get it out. Right now, it's under the street where it was widened, and so it's to get it out.
It should get it out. Now, again, just because of previous experience of going with the lowest bidder, does anybody, and SR is the lowest bidder, we have experience with this company?
yes, they have them work here for AWASA.
Okay.
What's the total cost on this for materials and?
For material, we're looking at approximately $20,000, more or less, $20,000. I don't have that attached, but that's something that we have it on our warehouse.
Thank you.
So we're going with the lowest bidder, which is SR Construction.
SR Construction, that's our recommendation, yes.
Y'all get to choose, the board gets to choose, needs to make a recommendation, but if the board chooses to go with that.
This is a second by Homer.
yeah.
Yes, and a motion by Mrs. Perez.
Okay.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Perez, second by Mr. Tijerina. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 17, discussion and possible action on approval of quotes for repairs for the Palmview main lift station, railing guides, stainless steel couplings, and 12-inch discharge flange connections for all 3 pumps. Mr. Salinas?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, on this project, we had the main lift station that was built, for the Palmview project, and it was built by the substantial completion for this was probably 2 years ago, more or less. So we had some issues with the actual, lift station. Some of the railing, came off. The actual, the suction, pipe, we're thinking that it was not properly connected, so it disconnected from the bottom, section of the actual, wet well. So what we're trying to do, we went out to get some quotes to repair those 3 lift stations, which is the rating guys, some of the couplings, and of course the discharge flange connection for all 3 pumps, which is where the actual suction pipe sits, or the actual pump. The actual pump sits on the bracket. So everything came loose on the bottom. So the actual what was happening, the pumps at the bottom of the wet well, they were just recirculating the wastewater within the same wet well. So we had to do a bypass connection. So we have been working with that bypass for the last maybe 2 weeks, I'm gonna say a week and a half. So basically this is an emergency sort of project, because we cannot be with the bypass for a long time. So we're working with the bypass for now, but we tried to seek quotes for the last 2 weeks, and I know even Milo met with some of the actual contractors out there in the field, so that we can get a quote. So we received 2 quotes, and one of them was JMJ Constructors for $30,575, and we have also Southern Trenching Solution, but that came in at very high at $146,000, and we tried to get quotes from Morewell, Garco Construction, South Texas United, and Science Brothers, but we have yet to receive a quote. So I brought it to the board to seeking approval for the lowest bids of the lowest bidder of those 2 bidders, or quotes, for a quote, so that we can, get going on that project.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, and then I have some questions.
Is poor quality of work that they did. I mean, what's a life, what's a limit, what's a warranty, or?
Unfortunately, the warranties are 1 year, and at the time when.
But if it was loose, I mean, they did,
the contractor that installed it did meet us out there. I did try to get a quote from them. They went out there, they
Which is
took
more
out
well.
Position Pumps, who was the provider for the pumps. The contractor and the pump provider that sold it to them didn't agree with the reasoning on why that happened, and they decided not to provide a quote.
so what,
How convenient.
There's
And so all I have is that, there's a 1-year warranty, and that basically started before we even came on board with
So,
the
so this thing was giving problems already, and our maintenance did not speak on time? For this, that it was loose,
For the 3 pumps?
Yeah,
For the 3
a
pumps,
year.
yeah, we have been trying to get quotes for, it started with 2 pumps, so we started getting quotes for those 2 pumps because we had 1 active pump, right? So that 3rd pump became also loose and railed off of the actual.
So how the timing back when we started having problems the first time?
For the first, it was, I believe it was February.
Was it within the year?
Yeah.
No? It was after the year?
No, it's
February
after.
of this year.
This is after, way
I think
before.
the substantial completion happened like.
No, the substantial completion happened back in, because I was still in mission, and I got a call to come to the actual substantial completion final punch list to the actual main lift station, and that was the summer of 2021.
21?
Was summer
But
of
if we have a
2021.
problem 6 months ago,
22.
8 months ago.
No, this is
20
before.
No, 21. Summer of
No, it was 21.
Yeah, 2012 was
Okay.
So it was summer of 2021.
That's whenever it was put in.
Whenever it was,
So-
substantially complete,
Correct.
And then you just barely started having problems when, this February,
February.
2023?
February 2023. Yes,
Yeah.
2 of the pumps came out of the rating, and the bottom bracket broke off.
Yeah, so the pump people said, the bolts needed to have been installed
And that, the one, who you spoke with is Morwell?
Yes,
Okay.
but they were the ones that had,
Yeah.
And he didn't wanna give a code or anything?
no, he said they preferred not to.
So we got a code for 30,000, you said?
30,000.
It's just a
That's
big discrepancy.
materials también?
30,572.
It's 110,000.
It's a big discrepancy, so again, I'm going over, I mean, voice, it's too big of a, are we gonna get poor quality on the 30,000?
I mean, we have done in the past, and I know you have done work also, with
J-
J&J.
J&J, I can say they've done good work.
Done work with the commission.
As long as we in Milo, you work with them and, kind of tell them the situation and of what happened.
What I don't know is, because we weren't the ones that requested for the quotes, but there's definitely a big gap between Southern Trenchless and J&J, and they're both, pretty good contractors.
Yeah, the thing is that on JMJ, it's item 1, and it just gives you a general description
Yeah.
of the stuff, and then Southern Trenchless gives you, okay, 231.
Yeah, that's what I.
112, 116 pieces,
details.
122.
Yeah,
I-
I've seen them.
We don't want to go that route and then come back, oh, we need a change order, and another change order, and another change order. We've seen that happen before.
Okay, so one code is like Homer was saying, 146, and one is 30,000?
30,000, those are the quotes, we didn't get any other.
They're
quotes.
big
And
apart.
yeah, and you can
Okay.
see that Southern Trenches did their due diligence in specifically writing out lines and items and specifics as opposed to generalities of JMJ.
What do you think,
What-
Milo? I mean, what is it, I mean, who's reviewing this, who's the engineer who's reviewing this, you?
No,
No,
there's no, we're getting quotes through our.
But an engineer, can the engineer go, this is what we need, this
Yeah,
is what
but
you need?
there's additional, we believe that there's additional, for example, the suction pipes, I mean, they wanna remove the suction pipes. I don't think there's a need to remove the suction pipes, and that's $48,000.
Uh-huh.
See what I mean? So there's some items that they added additionally that I don't think they're not needed.
Well,
Where's
Robert,
this?
we're gonna fix the 3 of them?
3 of them,
Oh, to get the 3, so the 3 of them can be working.
yes.
On this one, it was sealed bids, or there were,
This we're getting,
Phone
we
bids.
got bids, no, we got bids, from the
Just open.
contractor we met out in the field, and they submitted a bid.
and
Or
even
a
if we were
quote,
to
sorry.
go out there and re-advertise, they already know what they quoted.
Right.
So we gotta,
And I know that's an
They've been
emergent,
out there. I mean, this contractor's been out there.
Yes.
And we've worked with them before. And if it comes back that they're saying we're not gonna do it for that price, or there's more work that's involved, well, I mean, that's something that, we'd have to bring back to the board, let you know.
yeah, we
I mean,
just
I think
don't
at
need
this
no
point
more
it's
litigation.
emergency. We
Yeah.
got a qualified contractor that has been on site and seen it.
I know Milo on previous contractor and another bid, we had made the contractor sign that's it, like, and they were gonna stick to that pricing.
So on this in particular, it wasn't something that we provided plans or we sent it to contractors. This was done directly by our staff.
Okay.
We tried to help to get more will out there and see if we can get an additional quote, but, we weren't able to. But like I said, both of those contractors are good contractors. Maybe they have different ways on the way they plan to fix it, but there's definitely a big gap on the price.
Well, I would like something like that, like a signature holding them to that price.
So what it is, they just put the pipe in, well, what do they put in, just a pipe to be connected in the bottom, that's it? No motors, no nothing?
The pumps go basically like, there's ratings that go down,
Uh-huh.
and the pump has basically like a line where it goes in between those routes to kind of keep it in line to put it down the wet well. And then
Which
they
is
sit
all
at the
of this,
bottom,
what
and I
we
think-
see in our pictures, right?
And so they gotta basically reinstall those railings,
You can see
bolt them
some
on,
of the rating
and make
towers.
sure that the pumps can, stay in there and work the way it's supposed to.
As engineer Milo, you didn't do
Yeah.
a price analysis yourself?
No, this is not something that,
Basically, we're gonna fix, pump 1, let's say pump 1 and pump 2. So the cost was gonna be less than $25,000, so we were gonna go ahead and move forward on that. Then the other pump broke,
Okay,
third
gotcha.
pump. So the third pump now we're getting a cost over $25,000 to $30,000. So now we're at this stage and it's an emergency. Well, it's an emergency
because
because right
that's-
now we're on a bypass.
That's a
here.
major connection.
And
with
that's
the
mainly,
main.
right now, the district's using the bypass like Robert's mentioning, so.
You can't use it for too much longer.
This is
How
the,
long-
this is the main lift station that pushes the sewer to
Mission.
Mission.
So on this one, Robert, you feel comfortable? Like,
Okay,
I
now.
think
Like,
we need to
you're
do
okay
the,
with
I
it?
think we need to do the work as soon as possible. That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah,
that's,
so move.
second?
It's gonna be on you, Robert. It's gonna be on you to.
And can we
expedite
put a
this.
contingent that you talk to the contractor, like maybe Homer said, and have him sign off on it? But I know they're, I mean, they won't do something like that.
It's not a sealed bid, I mean, this is just
It's
a
all-
quote.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very possible that they come back and say, wait a minute.
This is bigger than we
This
thought.
is not to replace this, and there's no way to bind them to that right now.
Right, that's what,
I mean, but what Robert's saying is, this is an emergency situation.
right.
Yeah.
We've got somebody that was out there that said 30-something thousand. If we find out later that they're wrong, it's really
Bring it
148,
back.
we can bring it back, but there's no way to bind them.
Okay.
Who's gonna be doing the supervision?
Well, the staff.
Staff.
So,
They know what they're doing?
Jaime,
Yeah.
you know Jaime, yeah, Jaime.
Yeah.
As James, just so everybody knows, they replaced the filters at FM 492 water treatment plant and at Havana, and both projects were.
And what about the
They did a good
material?
job.
Stainless steel, I mean, what they're gonna be putting, who's gonna be,
The majority,
Chicken.
like, from what I know at J&J, the majority of their experience is water and wastewater plant.
but, but who's gonna be, see, what kind of,
I think the.
kind of.
Like verifying what kind of material they're using?
The vote requires for them to be stainless steel.
Yeah, some of the
Yeah.
materials that they're gonna be reusing.
Because they're gonna put the same steel or
Yeah,
same
like
metal.
that, come
they
back 2
put-
years from now and be asking for the same
What
thing.
happened, it was the actual suction lines with the pumps, they were not properly secured. So I think through this past 2 years, the vibration caused the actual, pipe to break
To
from
come
the
off.
brackets on the bottom. That's what.
Yeah.
But-
And-
but-
And that's what the contractor
Said?
basically said the same thing, that the pumps, the way they were designed, they're probably some of the biggest pumps I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're huge pumps.
I mean, here locally.
Are they gonna continue doing that, vibration?
And I think that's probably why they didn't wanna provide it.
We'll have a 1 year warranty, that's the,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, what's the life expectancy on that anyways? I mean, it's not lifetime guarantee anyways.
no.
For like $40,000, you can't get lifetime warranty. I mean, it's probably gonna go out again in 3 or 4 years.
I mean, should
Well,
Could we ask what's,
Yeah, more.
Try to design for 20 years, but.
Yeah,
you
but
get-
if you put stainless,
would we be able to ask, for example,
Definitely
like,
not designed for 3 years.
the first and the second, okay, what,
Materials.
huh?
What materials?
No, not the materials, like, how long are you gonna
Warranty.
warranty it? And then the second company, how long are you planning to warranty this?
For emergencies, it's 1 year.
I think
Or is it both?
Standard is usually
Standard is
one
a year.
On both?
Now like, sometimes if they provide other things, like say the pump, sometimes you have like additional years with the pump manufacturer. But on something like this, we don't really know why it happened 100% for sure, so it's kinda hard to blame the workmanship or.
or maybe they put a lot of acid on the water. Or something. I don't know what's going on.
It was,
Okay.
yeah, it's just hard to tell, so none of us saw it.
Okay, Robert.
It's needed.
Okay. So then I have a motion by Mrs. Perez and I have a second by Mr. Tejirina. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Item number 18, General Manager's Report. Mr. Salinas?
Yes, Madam President. members of
January
the board,
financials.
For items A and B, I have, Mr. Jaime Peña, Finance Director.
Yes, Board, these financial statements are as of January and February. I'll go ahead and start off with January. If you could please turn your attention to the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. Here you'll see that the operating revenues are at 8%, which is in line with January, and operating expenses are at 6%, and overall for the month, we're we're up with our budget. I'll go ahead and now shift to February. So February is 16% of the budget. I would also like to point out that this is the month that we implemented the new rate order. So our operating revenues are at 16%, so in line with the month as well, and operating expenses are at 14, and overall we're in line with the budget for February as well.
Is that why we saw that 155 difference between the 2 months?
Yes.
Okay.
But, yes, that's
There was a difference in,
right. I mean, there was a tad bit less consumption, but because of the rate increase, we did bill more than the prior month in January. But there's also a combination of sewer that's gone up. So on the far right-hand side, you see the year-to-year difference. And total operating revenues 2023 compared to 2022, we're at $334,000 up as well.
Have we started putting anything on reserve?
Right now, we have a good working balance. We're able to meet our bills, transfer for debt, and meet payroll, no problem. We're slowly working into generating a healthy balance to invest, but we would have to see more like late summer to see if we can start buying up some CDs.
Yeah, and gradually, yeah, Texas Water Development Board is gonna wanna see that.
Sure.
Since we just put the
Right.
application in, so they wanna see, okay, they're
That's-
starting to build, it'll look good on us. you
Right.
know, Stuff like that, so.
We're
Definitely.
still receiving some interest, which went high with the
Yeah, I
tax
saw
star
that.
CDs we have, which is, as we all know, the interest rate is high, but we were there something once the debt payments are, we have a debt payment coming up in first May, and then we
Yes.
slowly work with the working balance to see if we can open up more CDs, because the interest rate is high. And as the finance director mentioning, the revenues up, there's two things, the rate order that we implemented, and the last summer, we implemented some fee changes increase as well, so it's a combination of both that things, also besides the consumption that's bringing the additional revenue.
I just noticed that January's revenues were a little higher than February's. Is it also because of the shorter month?
Right, so that could have been it too. The consumption was also lower, right? Yeah.
Okay. Which is expected during these colder months, right?
Right, this
Okay.
is where, right, the first quarter is usually a dip in revenues. As the summer comes along, we're gonna see a higher spike with more consumption.
Thank you.
Okay. So that was A and B, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Item 18C, Senate Bill 1188 and House Bill 5313 regarding the amendment to district enabling legislation. Mr. Salinas?
Yes, Madam President, this is, just to, advise the board that a House Bill 5313 was introduced as well, and it's such called a companion to the actual, Senate bill. So right now, looking at the actual, the online Texas legislature, bill status, right now, they're going into stage, 2. And that's what I have from the actual, online, Texas legislature, website. And basically the actual House bill, was introduced by, yes, Sergio Munoz Jr. on March 20th, 2023. So basically, it was the introduction of the actual bill, and it's going through the stages as we speak. So basically, it's a mirror image of the same, the House bill and the Senate bill are basically the same.
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed since it was introduced by the Senate.
Nothing has changed as, for the 10 years and all that, still the same?
It hasn't changed for that.
When are they gonna go for, when does it go for,
Approval.
to approval?
Well, it goes through different
Stages.
stages through the committees.
So right now, it's still in the committee,
Still in
on
the
the
committee.
Senate side. So basically what happens, and this is not uncommon, especially on a local, matter like this, you'll introduce the same bill in both the Senate and the House, and then it just kind of depends on which one moves forward. It's just a way to try to make sure that it moves forward. If one moves faster than the other, then the House bill will be the dominant bill, or vice versa. And so there's nothing different about, Sergio Munoz Jr. introducing this bill. We took a look at it, and they're identical. So what'll almost certainly happen is it'll proceed through the Senate. We've actually got a clip of the Senate committee hearing on that bill today. Was it today? Today, that we're going to show you in executive session. Of course, that was a public matter, but I want to show an executive session that way in case anybody's got questions for legal advice on it. But the gist of it is what if it once it comes out of committee, they will try to submit it to the local on the local calendar, and what that would do is allow it to essentially avoid having to go for a full vote by either the House or the Senate and expedite the bill through. That is how the bill that got passed in the last legislative session that also had changes went through. I suspect that's probably what will happen, but I do want to remind the board, and I think I mentioned this to the entire board, but maybe it was just Ms. Diaz and Mr. Perez when we were in Austin. But the Senator's office has reached out to the district and said, hey, look, if y'all have some proposed changes, let us know about it. So I don't have the impression that this is a situation where he's trying to punish anybody in this room. In fact, there were several statements that the Senator made in his comments to the committee today that indicate clearly that he's got a lot of faith in the current board that is existing. And so y'all can make your own judgment call when y'all see that yourself. But anyway, that's the gist of where it is. I understand that Javier Peña is working on proposing some modifications and changes to make sure that there's not some unintended consequences from the language, the initial language. Like I said, the Senator told me himself, or his chief of staff, I should say, told me himself that they would invite those changes. So we'll see if that ends up being the case.
Hopefully.
I would love for the senator to come and meet with us all,
Yeah.
That would be great.
so he can hear from us directly.
Would be nice. I don't know if we could possibly arrange something so where all of us could, sit with him and meet with him and have, a discussion on this.
I think that's a good idea. I would be surprised if he was opposed to it. The only thing is the logistics and timing. I mean, he is in session right now.
Even if it's via Zoom.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's
I
right.
mean,
That's a really good point.
I think if he says he's working with us, that he should truly keep him to his words.
Okay.
Item number 18D, update on alternative funding sources with municipalities.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, on this report, just to let the board know that I'm going to be working with the municipalities that are within the CCN of AGUA SUD to look for alternative sources of either grants or funding, because there's some grants out there that only municipalities can apply to. So I'm not sure if there might be a mechanism that AGUA SUD can jointly together with other municipalities can apply for different grants that are out there or funding. I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but I'll try to find out to see if that's something that we can explore for any water line improvements or even sewer line improvements. So basically for all utilities grants that are out there that only municipalities can apply for, and not actual district, but if we join together, maybe there's an option there.
And I
Just
think-
work to explore.
And I think that's how the City of Palmview got their drainage grants, is they went through they went to a conference and they've got different booths set up, and they spoke to one of those grant writing companies or businesses, and they were able to get that. So it would be really neat if they go to those conferences. I haven't been to one of those conferences, if there's grant writers there on hand, and asked for them,
What kind
their
of
input.
conference was this, do you know?
I think it was like one of the municipalities.
Conferences?
Of the cities, yeah. And they, Mr. Perez, Jail Perez from the commission stopped at one of those booths and spoke to one of the representatives there, and they were able to reach out and get that grant for the drainage.
I haven't been to a conference either.
But
The
if
problem
there's
is that
something out
sometimes
there
those
through municipality-
conferences are during the week. So a lot of the times, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the conferences are during the week sometimes. So I know with a lot of us, sometimes it interferes with our working schedules.
Actually, all of them.
Actually, all of them are, yes. I haven't been to one conference that is a weekend. So that's, but when you're retired, Doctor,
I'm
But for
retiring
you
in
all, for
June.
the
Any
staff, for
conference comes
you
up
all
after
to
that,
kind of,
you're good.
I'm in.
Okay, that's great.
After June.
So I was gonna mention the grant writer that right now has contract with all the municipalities, actually, with Sullivan, City of Sullivan. Even he's doing some work for City of La Joya, Peñitas, and Palmview, Hollis Rutledge.
yeah.
So he's working
Excellent.
with all municipalities on different types of grants, but it can be law enforcement, it can be drainage. So he's working different
Equipment and
grants
things like that.
with all those municipalities. So I'm gonna
I highly recommend him because he, everybody in Austin knows him.
That's
And he-
that's great.
What about that other grant writer we met with there in McAllen briefly, who was gonna help us?
The one next to the senator?
Yeah.
For Rene Ramirez.
Uh,
I haven't spoken with Rene Ramirez since that.
Yeah.
He was gonna help us out, and I haven't reached out to him.
How about Mr. Salinas? I don't know, but how about through the county? Is there grants also through the county that where we could, maybe benefit from such a grant?
There might be grants. Again, I will need to talk with the commissioner to see if there's any any ARPA funding that might apply to water and sewer. But again, it's sort of difficult because some of the grants only apply to municipalities. Like for example, with the ARPA funding, some of the municipality like Mission, Palmview, they got a funding through the ARPA, through the American Recovery Act, that AGUA did not get, even though we service several municipalities through the area. AGUA did not get any funding on that.
So
Some
we
of the
probably
other
would have a better chance of getting a grant through one of the municipalities rather than the county.
Probably, yeah, no, we can work with the county as well, but some of the municipalities use those fundings for different projects.
Yeah.
Such as storm drainage, communication, and through those, when I was reading the grants, when I was in Mission, some of those did apply for water and sewer. But again, the district, I guess they didn't qualify Mission, or I'm not, Milo, and they didn't, AGUA didn't explore that option as far as ARPA funding, or we just didn't, it was just basically for municipalities and counties. But I'm not sure in the past when that was going on, did AGUA ever look into?
I think it was just through the cities or the county, and I think that's why, I think probably the only way it could have happened is like teaming up.
Because the county receives the funding, right, from the state or the federal government, and then the county will disperse the funding to the municipalities based on either population or use.
I know that even in another county, in Zavala County, we've helped them out with engineering, and they got a grant through the county because they couldn't apply themselves, but the county helped them apply, so, and that's how they connected their yard line.
Yeah, I think that if we enlist somebody like a grant writer who has more eyes on what's out there, it would help us see what we qualify for.
So, would we first have to speak to the municipalities and through them to the grant writer?
Jointly with them.
Jointly with them?
With them, and see if we can apply for any grant that can be out there, even a loan or a 50-50.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so there can be options out there, but we're gonna need the actually to jointly work together with the cities and the county so that we can apply for
Okay.
those.
Okay. Any further questions?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Salinas. Item number 19, District Engineers Report. Milo? This is item A, NatBank Technical Assistance Agreement, sewer hookups.
So just to provide a brief update on this, construction-wise, we have no progress. It's basically the same as last month, but we met with Carlos Acevedo on Thursday of last week here at AGUA. We brought a draft of the change order to remove the areas where we're not going to be able to connect, which is service area G1. And then we also worked on the reconciliation of quantities and then basically discussed the items that are pending, the service connections that are pending, and also there's some that have to get lowered, but those they had already told us no, but I'm still trying to see if we could get it done through NatBank, where they have to, the contractor would have to basically open up the trench again for where the service connection was installed by the previous contractor and lower it in order to be able to make the connection. So on those, originally NatBank had said no. We included those just in case they would say yes this time, because just on the first two items, we have almost more than 400,000 in potential deductions. So we're trying to get as many houses connected that as possible before we close out the project. So long story short, we gave them the draft change order. They said they'll get back with us within the next 2 weeks, and then from there we'll finalize the change order and then bring it to the board. And this will be to add days for them to finish the pending work and to reconcile the quantities, and again, this will be a deduction. And so that's where that's at.
Question, Milo. I saw that EB Reina was flooded. Is that us?
On that item, we're working on dewatering the section between EB Reina and Bensten right now. So we're dewatering that's actually groundwater. We're dewatering the sanitary sewer system, the main lines. So that's why there was water there.
Yeah, so we get the calls, and just so that we know what to tell them in that sense, because we're expecting rain this coming week.
So we're actually trying to televise tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
okay. It's coming up.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I got ahead.
But
so basically,
I didn't know we were getting calls. So
so basically it's just groundwater that we're pumping out of the system, the sewer system.
Groundwater, you said? Groundwater?
Groundwater. Yeah. It's not sewer.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but I saw it flooded there when I was coming through the meeting, and I said, yeah, this is what they were talking about.
And something also happened, the water was cut this weekend for some areas? No, my secretary was telling me.
For this weekend? Unless it was on the city of
Yeah,
City
she
of La
called.
Jolla, maybe?
Yeah, it was, no.
Maybe City of La Jolla, but us, no. Right now, just.
No, she said she called Pam. It was through our website.
Unless it was.
There was a break of a line or something, a line break.
Unless
And they didn't have water
I know
up.
that we just contractor out there hit our 20-inch line that feeds the 3-mile line booster this afternoon. So we're working on that.
And then she said on Saturday, all the way, for like 8 hours, they didn't have water.
Which area was that?
I can't remember what she told me. But she
Like,
called Pam about it.
I'll
And
check
Pam
on
is
that.
the one that told her that there was a break in the line or something had happened. I just found out right before I came over right now.
okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, it was just an area that was without water, but not throughout the system.
I was just wondering what had happened.
Okay.
Further questions? So we can move on to B, Havana Water Treatment Plant Improvements Project.
19B, we're still in the environmental phase, trying to get that submitted, so kind of same update as last month. 19C, Mendiola Water Storage Tank. On this one here, we did provide some letters which I had brought up last board meeting, sorry. We did have a virtual meeting with the project engineers regarding the $5,000 credit that was proposed by CSJ Group for the conduit that was installed with the wrong material instead of aluminum. They did claim that this material was ordered during COVID. The project engineer did talk to other electricians, and they did mention that it was hard to get, but they never asked us or never asked the project engineer to change the material. So we did request that it either gets replaced or provide a credit. They proposed $5,000. So what we had agreed to do was try and meet with a different electrician to kind of see how much it would cost to actually do that replacement. I met with Benito, an electrician that has done work for AGUA SUD, actually through JMJ as a subcontractor on the plants, and he told me verbally that it would cost more or less around $12,000. But Albert here from AGUA was also present, and he said that this change would have to be done during the winter months when the consumption is a little less, the demand is a little less, and so we're basically going to go and try and see if we can meet somewhere in between, or try and get the $12,000 credit from CSJ. Other than that, they did complete the repairs that were needed on the fence that was on the punch list. They did complete the Caliche Drive. And if you notice on the next 3 pages, these are pictures that we took last Thursday. And if you start looking on the second page, all the ones that say conduit, that would be the conduit that's basically in question to be replaced. We sent a letter out to them today, basically notifying them of what I guess the amount that we got from this third-party electrician to have an idea of what it cost. And we provided a list of items that'll be required to be provided in order to close out the project. I think they've made some progress in this last month finally, and so we hope that we get those items going. And
so tell me, what is it needed to finish this, so that Mendiola is no longer on this list?
So they have a punch list, and I don't want to scratch off those items for them. So in the letter that we sent them today, we asked them to provide that same punch list, and it has literally a check mark that says completed or not completed. So we want them to provide that to us with the closeout documents. And right now, the majority of the items that are pending are either letters that certify that the work was done as per plans and specs, a letter from the manufacturer of the pump of the tank, that everything was installed as per plans and specs. And so the manufacturer that sold it actually built the tank, so they should be able to provide that, right? So it's just getting all this paperwork, O&M manuals, affidavit of bills paid from the prime contractor and the subcontractors. And so it's just a bunch of paperwork that they need to get together so that we could get to the point where we can take this one off.
And so the letters, when they provide us those documentations, it's so that we have warranty?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's part of the items that were requested. So this booster station has been already in service for about 1.5 years. So the pumps, the tank, the control panel, those items, the 1-year warranty is probably expired already. So, but the rest of the items that are being accepted, the Caliche Drive, the concrete apron, the building, the interior, everything that's being accepted just now, they need to provide a 1-year warranty of, basically starting whenever they send it. But the other items is usually whenever they get placed into service. Any other questions on this project?
No, thank you.
Palmview Sanitary Sewer Improvements Project, that's a project that they've been televising. They started televising on March 21st, and then the rains kind of slowed them down, and so that's probably some of the water that we're seeing there in front of Ibirena that AGUA SUD is helping the contractor also dewater. And they hope to start re-televising tomorrow. They've completed the televising from Bensten Palm up to Minnesota, and so the pending portion is from Bensten Palm to Ibirena, And so that's the reason that there's water there. Capital improvements plan, 90% complete. The only thing that we're pending is the estimated cost from the project engineer that'll be doing potentially the water line that'll service the 3 developments that are on the north side of Peñitas. And then while one of the subdivisions was being modeled, we also found that there's another segment of pipe on Texan between mile 4 and 5 that we want to include in the capital improvement plan. That'll help the pressure in that area. So that's another section, like basically another future project that we'll be including on there.
Where is that at again?
On Texan Road between mile 5 and 6. I'm sorry, not between 4 and 5.
5 and 6, yeah. It's on
Between
the
5 and
north side,
6.
north of Palma.
Other than that, that's all we have on our report.
Okay. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay, item number 20, executive session. So I need a motion to go into executive session at 7:21?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Perez and I have a motion by Ms. Perez and a second by Ms. Ricky. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.